Okay, it's Roger, thanks for dropping by. We're back up in the bedroom in the world of the resting Dendrobiums, or not, as the case may be. A lot of information available now that wasn't available to me before. And although all this information sounds incredibly similar, it has subtle differences, and it's those little differences that make a difference. And they're hard to get hold of. Anyway, I've got notes. Now that's not like me, but you know, there's a few plants to go over. This is new information, so it's not embedded in my brain yet to become matter of course. So I've got some notes to refer to. I don't see anything wrong with that. It's like making a list if you go shopping. Now, I don't need to do that, but some do. Okay, we'll start at the top then. Friedrichianum. That's this one here. Okay, a little bit of leaf loss on older canes, and it really is the old canes, so I'm not fussed about that. That's a natural progression. What I am fussed about is when we last looked at these canes, they were desiccated, so I watered it, and hey presto, they plumped up. They needed it. The plant told me that. Don't need any notes or any information. The plant was desiccating and it worried me, and it's one of my better Dendrobiums. The growth on that last year was phenomenal. These are really good canes. It would be nice to get some blooms, but not at the expense of losing the plant. Anyway, let's have a look at the notes for this one then. Now, okay, in the winter time rainfall is low. That does not mean none, that means some, but nowhere near as much as in the probably spring, summer and into the autumn. But it does get a bit of rain now and again, so it's not bone dry. But the most important thing is it has very, very moist air through the winter. It's not dry. So a dry winter rest for this one is not right. Yeah? So if you just generalise, you're going to get some wrong. You've got to get down to individual plant, individual species. And the recommendations when in culture, so we get what it's like in the real world, then some guidance into how to look after it in culture. Because in culture, it's not the real world. We try and get as close as we can, but we will never be the same as being out in a deciduous forest on a hillside. You can't do that. Well, you can. Go and see the real thing in situ. Boy, would I love to do that. Anyway, it recommends dry between waterings. Well, yes, I'm okay with that. But it also recommends not keeping them dry for too long. Now, we've seen the consequences of a 10-day dry spell, desiccated canes. So yes, I can agree with that guideline. So for this one, it can stay up here. Yeah, it can be up in its resting place. But it will get watered. And then it'll be allowed to totally dry out, and then it'll get some more. It's only going to get water, no feed, obviously, this time of year. So that's that one. I'm going to have individual sort of things for each blinking plant as we go along here. Right, Findlayanum. That's this one with the nice bulbous canes. Yeah, that's getting nice and warm in the sunshine. Let's find out if that's a good idea. Right, so basically where this comes from, it gets an awful lot of really thick morning mist, but that clears and it becomes clear in the afternoon. So what can you say about that? If a plant's from a deciduous forest and the leaves are on the deck, yeah, and the mist clears, it gets some sunshine. So for this one, I'm going to read into all of that. It needs the brightest light you can give it, especially here in the UK, bearing in mind short day length and all stuff like that. So bright light, if I can, you know, when the sun permits. But it does actually get morning mist on most days. And if you've ever put your washing out in the mist, it doesn't get dry. It probably comes in wetter than when you put it out. Yeah? So that plant gets a lot of moisture, then it dries off and it's clear and bright. Yeah, and because of the sort of area it comes from, it's not that warm and the nights are going to be quite cool. So yes, a cool night part of its rest. The daytime temperatures don't matter so much. It's making sure you get that drop off at night and get a cool night. We'll have a look at the temperature in a minute. Okay, but not dry for too long. Not totally dry. It gets covered in mist most days. So it's almost getting a daily watering, isn't it? Think about it. Wrong information. Okay, so yes, I will water that one and I will let it totally dry, then I'll water it again. You have to bear in mind that humidity comes into play here. Now this is a bedroom. It's not exactly moist in here. The current reading, which, hang on, let me just move that because that's in the sun. We'll have a look at the gadget in a minute. But humidity in here is low. So, you know, if I do water, that water's going to evaporate into the ambient air quite quickly. So they're going to dry quite quickly. This is good. Okay, Jenkinsii, and this is the one that worries me. This is a mature plant, no blooms. This is the wonderful squash grape plant. Even squashed her looking now, but we did water that when I came up last time. It's not totally desiccated. All the leaves haven't fallen off, so we haven't lost it. Haven't done anything silly yet. But let's find out if we would have been. And I'm going to categorise this one, which is a Jenkinsii cross, and it's crossed with aggregatum, but I'm going to go with the Jenkinsii side of that plant. I love that little plant. That's not particularly desiccated, and the new growth is growing. It's a little bit longer than the short time ago we looked at it. So let's have a look at that one then, Jenkinsii. It gets low rainfall in the winter. Well, if you make a statement like low rainfall, you are not making the statement no rainfall. It gets some. But it gets a lot of mist and very heavy dew in the mornings. Is that plant totally dry? Is it hell? Okay. But then later in the winter, there is very, very little moisture around. It's not in the air. And there's very, very little and next to no rain. So that one does dry off, but in late winter. So that's the last little bit of winter. That might only relate to a couple of weeks, might be a month. Okay, so it does actually state also that it needs the highest light you can give it in winter, and it does need a distinct drop with nighttime temperatures to get the blooms initiated. So a little bit more fussy, that one, but I think I can do this. Okay, so that's that one then. Those two will both get treated the same. Yeah, very misty, very heavy dews into winter until the very end of winter, at which point it really does dry off. And there's very, very little moisture available to it. So and as high a light as I can get. Well, you can see on a sunny day in here, it doesn't get much brighter than this. It's straight through clear glass. That's just about as good as hanging in a tree, or as good as you can get it in the UK anyway. Okay, let's move on then. Primulinum, that's this one up here with a lot of dead canes on, and I was worried about the few new growths that I'd got desiccating. So let's have a look at this one then. So this one should be kept drier in winter, but not dry for extended periods until late winter, at which point it is in its environment clear, warm and dry. Yeah, that one word added in there. Not a cool dry winter rest, but a warmer one. So this one's coming out of here. This one's going back down in the grow room. Get it down now while I think about it. So you've had a little holiday in the bedroom, now you're going back downstairs. Yeah, just read into it. You know, drier but not for too long, so it does need some water until late winter, and then in its environment it gets clear, warm and dry weather. Okay, so it can stay drier for longer at that point. And the light must be as high as you can get it. I got a special place for you, and it's on a wire that's got nothing on it. It's very close to the glass, very close to the roof, and it's on the end with no shade netting. Does that sound good? Does to me. Right, senile, if I haven't lost the flipping plant already. Where's that one gone? Oh, I've actually already taken that one downstairs. Okay, but let's have a think about senile anyway. The main thing that this one gets in its natural environment is a hell of a difference between day and night temperatures in the winter. Daytime temperatures are up round 25 degrees C. That's a warm summer's day in the UK, not the middle of flipping winter. But at night it can go down below 10 degrees, down as low as 7 degrees. That is one hell of a differential. But then it goes on. Cultivated plants, not as dry as in the real world. Yeah? So it's implying they do need a bit of moisture now and again. And don't keep them dry for long periods until the very end of winter. Okay? So the most important thing with that thing is not letting it completely desiccate, but a hell of a difference between night and day. Okay, so we'll have a look at that one. Now obviously with all this business with whether you water, whether you don't, all this, that and the other, humidity's playing a hell of a part in the real world. Now I haven't got humidity in here. It isn't there, it's a bedroom, and I'm not putting all humidity trays and mucking about like that. That's not going to happen. But the humidity's lower in here, so the plant, to get its moisture, will rely more on its roots than it would do perhaps in the natural world. And to get that water at the roots, it's totally reliant on me. It's not going to get it from anywhere else, not in this room. So I've got to do a little bit more work. Now there's still a little bit of a guessing game going on here. But if humidity plays a big part, especially in early mornings with a lot of these plants, that's the bit they're not going to get. So that's the bit that I have to substitute. Now I'm not spraying the plants and getting them soaking wet. I don't like to get my plants wet. It encourages moulds and all sorts of things. So I'm not doing that. Some may. Oh, do you know what I've just seen? We talked about Nesta and we haven't talked about anosmum. I think I'm okay with that one. You've got to be able to see that, haven't you? And that. Now I'm sure those weren't there last time we looked. So we possibly have bud break on Nesta. Whoa! That's the one I really want to get going. Such beautiful blooms. Okay, so yeah, a quick update. Now, where did I get this information from? A guy went away and got it for me and posted it in the comments section on my last video about the winter resting Dendrobiums. If you want to read those posts, just go to that video, yeah, look down through the comments. The guy's channel name is Orchid Baba, so that's the word orchid with B-A-B-A on the end. You'll see the comments, it's about a foot long. There's a lot of comments there. Thank you so much. Lots of little bits in there that I didn't have, and it's these little bits that can make the difference between either life and death with your plant and or whether you're liable to initiate blooms or not. So thanks a lot. I'm going to stick the guy's channel on my right hand side so that others can find it easily, and have a look at his videos. They're not all about Dendrobiums, but most are. That's obviously his passion, and he does a lot of work. There's a lot of investigations, draws conclusions, makes charts on a board, you know. It's worth having a look. If you've got species Dendrobiums and you're having trouble with winter rests and things like that, go and take a look. The guy's done some work there, and do some thank yous. It's worth it. When somebody puts an effort in, like I've always said, credit where credit's due. Okay, so a few changes up round here, starting now. Okay, so winter resting Dendrobiums of the ones that I've got up here. Don't forget my Noblies don't come into this. They're all hybrids, not the species, and they all do fine down in the grow room. They all bud, they all bloom, and they all grow lovely new canes and turn into big bushes. Why change what works? Yeah, so they stay where they are. Okay, so go and do some thank yous if you've got Dendrobium species. If you don't grow Dendrobiums, it's maybe of interest just from a science sort of point of view, but yeah, it's good stuff. Take a look. Okay, thanks for dropping by. See you next time. Whoops, forgot to drop back on the gadget. Okay, what have we got? It says it's 18 in here. That's probably a pretty good representation of the air temperature in here. Obviously, if this was on the windowsill, it would rock it because it would be sat in the sun. But you see what I mean about low humidity? It's not ridiculously low, but less than 50%, so plants wouldn't get a lot out of that. We got a high of just under 20. Humidity went up a bit. That was when I watered. That's more like it. See, last night with the window open wider and a colder night, it went down to 11. That's more like what I want. I'm going to get that for a few nights now, and then it will probably go mild again. But, you know, that's more like it. I was aiming for somewhere between 10 and 12. You know, that's not bad. So we're getting there. Good stuff. Better. Apart from the primulinum, which is supposed to be quite a bit warmer than that. So he's gone downstairs. Okay, thanks for dropping by again. See you next time.